I'll say a word about horror. Horror has been with cinema since the very beginning. It grew up part and parcel with the image, with cinema. And it will always be with us. It's one of the most popular genres of all time. It's an all-purpose genre because it keeps changing. Every culture, every few years, it morphs, it changes into something else. It brings the sensibilities of the age in which it's made, that's what's so fabulous. If you look at Frankenstein, or Dracula, or The Bride of Frankenstein, the Karloff films that were made at this studio, they're very much of the 30s and the Depression. They're Depression-era movies. They're speaking to those audiences. But if you look at modern horror films, they're speaking to you guys. And they bring the sensibility that you've become used to seeing and you demand seeing in film.
Cinema is culture's mirror. The evolution of the horror genre is a reflection of contemporary anxieties. Throughout the 1990s, horror took on a more deconstructive and postmodern look at the audience's relationship to the genre, and the medium's influence on social behaviors.
Don't you blame the movies! Movies don't create psychos! Movies make psychos more creative!
Many of the horror films that led up to and followed 9/11 either adopted a found footage approach, reflecting the emergence of the digital age and the growing fear of surveillance, or acted more as a return to form to old-school, classic, and exploitation horror, now with more attention placed on violence, which in turn reflects the United States' shift towards national conservatism and their rationalization for violent counterterrorism. Rob Zombie contributed to the latter trend of horror films, as he took inspiration from films like The Texas Chainsaw Massacre to craft a hyperbolic and visceral violent vision that appeals to the pathos of his fans, while alienating just about everyone else. This is Jane with Style as Substance. Today I'll talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween films.
Why is it all black?
Because it's one of my favorite colors.
Well, actually, black isn't a color, is it? It's the absence of color. In the spectrum of colors, you go from black, which is no color, all the way through to white, which is every color.
Zombie's remake of John Carpenter's 1978 horror classic Halloween was released theatrically in 2007, but was met with largely negative reception from audiences and critics alike. Zombie followed it up with the 2009 sequel, Halloween 2, which was met with even more negative reception.
I thought that he took away the mystique of the story by explaining too much about the guy. I don't care about that. It's supposed to be a force of nature. He's supposed to be almost supernatural. Knowing about that and he was too big.
Yeah.
It wasn't normal. Anyway.
Zombie's Halloween films are especially contentious for their supposedly sacrilegious betrayal of the franchise's themes in favor of reshaping the mythology and characterizing Michael Myers to Zombie's personal interest. Carpenter takes more interest in cosmic horror throughout his work, while Zombie takes more interest in Americana and social outcast. He takes particular interest in figures like Charles Manson and American serial killers, and the cultural fascination and mythology surrounding them. Rob Zombie maintains the more supernatural and mysterious elements of Carpenter's brainchild, but his added backstory does humanize the monster and allows the audience to not simply put themselves in Myers' mask, but also in Myers' head. Zombie taps into the morbid curiosity and fascination with true crime and societal others that many people in the United States have. Zombie grants these others with a unique dignity, in this case empathizing with Michael as a kid who is hurting inside due to being born in an unlucky situation, all while simultaneously reveling in the mythology of Michael Myers' inception, with the same questions and answers people have when discussing the origins of figures like Ed Gein, Ted Bundy, and Jeffrey Dahmer.
These eyes do not see what you and I see. Behind these eyes one finds only blackness, the absence of light. These are the eyes of a psychopath.
Halloween exploits the image of white trash urban Americana in order to keep alive an era of horror that has more or less been dead since the 1980s. The film dedicates the opening scenes to a poor family in rural Illinois, constantly at each other's throats.
Take that damn thing off. You are starting to annoy me, boy.
I hate you.
And I hate you too. You see this? As soon as this heals, I'm gonna break it again on your fucking face.
Enough, all right? Can we just eat in peace for once?
Michael Myers is given a backstory in order to explain the monster he eventually becomes. He is no longer the looming evil from middle-class suburbia, but instead a product of the lower class, a dysfunctional family, and untreated mental health issues. While Carpenter's Michael is a figure of pure evil, Zombie's Michael is one we are called to empathize with. At least at first, until we no longer can. The film does not ask us to agree with his atrocities, but it does ask us to understand where his problems stem from, and how he did not exactly choose to be this way. It was all random.
Michael was created by a perfect alignment of interior and exterior factors gone violently wrong.
Loomis is not trying to help Michael, he is trying to control him. He also exploits him through the book that he writes. Loomis does not take responsibility for his part in shaping who the young Michael eventually becomes.
I know exactly who you are, and frankly, I don't like you. And I'll tell you something else. I think you have created quite the masterpiece of a monster off the blood of this town, because monsters sell books.
I'm selling the sizzle, not the steak.
The sizzle?
Yes.
The sizzle. It's bad taste.
I have tremendous sympathy for all the families involved. And do I personally feel responsible, ma'am? No, I do not. And have said that many times.
This is my daughter, Linda. Your monster killed her.
Whoa, wait. No.
He butchered her.
You have my deepest sympathy.
Do I have your deepest sympathy, you
Truly.
fucking pig?
Truly sorry.
You kill her.
No, I didn't kill anyone.
You kill her!
All right, everyone.
There's an innocent girl in here I might have kept safe for your greedy fucking book. I want to shoot you. I want to shoot you so bad. I want to shoot him. Shoot him! I want to fucking shoot him, please. You son of a bitch!
There is a part of Loomis that cares for the person deep down within his greedy heart, as evident by his attempts to control the situation at the end of both films. He acts as a surrogate father to Michael, the last in a string of father figures, and like his stepdad, Michael ultimately kills Loomis.
Michael, for God in heaven, die!
This also reunites Michael's family in death. Zombies Halloween films take concepts like the Oedipal complex and push them to their extreme.
Freud would certainly have a field day with that little one, wouldn't he? So, it is the fate of all of us to direct our first sexual impulses towards our mothers and our first murderous hatred against our fathers.
Michael is obsessed with his mother, perhaps the only real loving and caring figure he's ever known. She is a stripper living in poverty with an abusive husband, and she is framed as an absolute paragon of goodness in a world full of evil. At one point, Michael sits in isolation as the audience hears "Love Hurts," before cutting to his mother as a pole-dancing angel of sorts. This parallels the cover of Love Hurts in Halloween 2, when she acts as an angel or Grim Reaper of sorts, walking in the hospital hallway with the white horse. Michael has a deep longing for his mother, as well as the nurturing comfort of femininity, which explains his appearance with long blonde hair, like his mother. His stepfather shames Michael with transphobic and homophobic remarks, putting down his lack of conformity to his warped standards for what masculinity ought to look like.
Give me a fucking break. He's probably a queer. He's gonna grow up, end up cutting his dick and balls off and changing his name to Michelle.
Michael has no luck with the masculine figures in his life, and yet in society he feels he must perform masculinity in one way or another. This manifests in his violent actions against animals, bullies, and eventually his family and many others. Michael was not exactly sexually developed at the time of his first crimes, and so violence acts as a supplement for desired sexual dominance.
Stop jerking off in there.
Get away!
Hey, get your ass downstairs and wash your hands, you little shit.
There is a perversity behind his kills, as well as the moments leading up to them. Michael spends his time in the sanitarium, a troubled child unaware, or at least seemingly unaware of his atrocities, and hiding behind his handcrafted mask, slipping day by day into darkness and away from the child he once was, that his mother could hold on to and love.
I believe that these masks have begun to create a mental sanctuary in which Michael can hide within himself and from himself.
All Michael really wants is to get back home and rebuild his family, or perhaps end his family. There's not much of a difference for him. He wants to die as a family and accomplishes just this in the end. The first thing he does after escaping and killing those in his way is return to the remains of his old house. He then tracks down his estranged sister, Laurie, who, in a dark twist of irony, is raised with a better life thanks to Meyer's murders, as they put her in a place for adoption within middle-class suburbia.
And I see this beautiful, innocent baby sitting in this bloody mess, and I can't imagine this child growing up with the stigma around her neck, so I omit her from the report. I drive her to another town and drop her off at the nearest emergency room, and I think that this is going to be the end of it. About 3 months later, I find out from a friend of mine, Mason Strode, that he's adopted the baby.
Michael even kidnaps her and silently attempts to get her to remember him in their old family home.
It reminds me, there's a cutscene in one of the Lego Star Wars games where they're trying to silently do the I am your father scene, and Darth Vader's just shoving a photograph of him with Padme in Anakin's or Luke's face.
Oh, right. Like, yeah, here's my pregnant wife, and we made you.
And he's like, this is you. That's what Michael is doing.
I don't understand. Please leave me alone. I don't know that, please.
The rest of the film plays out similarly to Carpenter's original film, though with the added layer of zombies' recontextualization of the mythology. At first, it may appear that Michael is something of an anti-hero fighting against what he sees as an abusive and oppressive system, whether that be the broken family unit or the corrupt sanitarium. In a shocking turn of events, though, Michael does murder his only friend, which one may find to be an indication that the murders are random acts of cruelty more than anything bound to a reason. Though even that floor warden upholds the institution, and therefore controls Michael.
You gotta look beyond the walls. Learn to live inside your head. Hey, there's no walls that can stop you there.
Halloween 2 opens with an on-screen excerpt from The Subconscious Psychosis of Dreams, which explains the white horse as being linked to instinct, purity, and the drive of the physical body to release powerful and emotional forces, like rage with ensuing chaos and destruction. Michael's mother brings him a white horse toy during his hospitalization.
What? What does it remind you of?
A dream that I had last night.
What kind of dream? Was it a good dream or was it a bad dream?
It was a good dream. A really good dream. You were dressed in all white, like a ghost. Like a really beautiful ghost. You were walking down this white hallway with this big white horse, saying you were going to come and take me back home.
The theory is that this ambiguous stimuli here will bring your subconscious thoughts into the light and illuminate them. So what do you see?
White horse.
So what does that tell you? Am I crazy or sane?
Tells me you're a girl who likes white horses.
But innocence corrupts itself, and the white horse, while instinctual and pure, also leads to rage, chaos, and destruction. The second film sees Michael directed by Ghost to carry out violence for a clear end goal. This is the ghost of his mother and the ghost of his old likeness. The deaths at the strip club are fitting, as they exploited Michael's mother both before and after her suicide. The more seemingly random encounters with men consistently lead to murder, but each one represents a masculine dominance asserting their will to power over Michael's.
Shut up. What the fuck did you say, faggot?
Mikey's upset.
Look how
Yeah.
tough he is.
Ball liquor.
That is some deep-ass, serious, faggoty-ass shit.
You faggot boy!
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
Big as he is dumb, man. Look at that. He's about 7 foot of fucktard.
I'm talking to you, shitheel.
Trust me. You're filthy, dirty hippie. You don't want to be doing that.
Tear this down, motherfucker! Come on now! I'll fucking blow 2 holes right through your fucking mask.
And so Michael fights back with an individually defined masculine fury, something that takes on a more perverted and predatory form with women. Now, Michael doesn't want to live in a world where sex exists, but he wants to preserve his childhood, and yet his killings, often done with a phallic knife, are sexual in nature.
Now go have some fun.
Okay.
Women are something he destroys, but perhaps also something he wishes he could have become. Okay, I promise you, I was not planning on making this another transgender analysis. It sort of just happened when I began writing. But it honestly makes sense as a natural extension of the film's overtly Freudian themes. At the end of the first act, it is Michael that effectively serves the film's final girl trope. He is put into a situation where he must fight to survive, and he's the last one out alive, just like Laurie at the end of the film. Until Annie is revealed to have survived, that is. Michael's mask shield him from himself, his true self, meaning there is a dissonance between the masculine monster of Michael Myers and the effeminate child that previously occupied that body and mind. In Loomis's efforts of conditioning Michael to return to the same roles, where he'll be abandoned by society, he pushes him further into darkness instead, which may explain why the young Michael is a separate entity from the older Michael in the second film.
Michael, Halloween is coming. You have to get ready. We are counting on you to bring us home this year.
I won't let you down.
Where Halloween is restrained to the familiar narrative and iconography of John Carpenter's mythos, Halloween 2 is a breath of fresh air, as Rob Zombie embellishes in his most aesthetically and narratively creative impulses. It is Halloween 2 where things get really interesting, and by the way, be sure to see the unrated director's cut, as the theatrical version butchers its own themes to death.
One day at a time, babe.
One day at a time.
One day at a time, babe.
One day at a time. One fucking day at a time. You know what, if I hear that fucking phrase one more fucking time, I mean, she just fucking sits there in her fucking leather chair and judges me like she's fucking God.
It's her job, Lori. My God, what am I supposed to say?
I've been thinking about my parents a lot. I really miss them. I miss them so much. Every time I see her face and I see those scars, I know that it's my fault.
And I get angry, and there's something in my body that snaps, and I get this 0 to 100 rage, and I just want to go up to her, and I just want to... Fuck, I don't know.
Okay, finish the thought. Finish that thought, it's really important.
No, I'd rather not. You'll send me away.
Laurie effectively becomes the new feminine version of Michael Myers, as 2 years of trauma makes her gradually slip into insanity, and climax with her lifting Myers' knife before being gunned down by the police. In the theatrical cut, she even dons her brother's mask before being institutionalized. Either way, the point here is clear. The gender swapping is baked into the subtext to the point that Laurie and her friends attend the Halloween party dressed as characters from the drag musical, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Her friend directly remarks on the theme at play with this costume decision.
Would you please convince Miss Tuculio for Schoolio that our costume idea is totally rad?
Dude, suck it up, ho. We got a fucking theme going on. Don't screw it up.
Laurie dresses as Magenta, while her friend dresses as Frankenfurter, or the sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. Now, she reveals her costume directly after Laurie reveals the truth about her family history.
I went into this bookstore and I got this book, and inside there's just a bunch of pictures.
Check me out, man! Fucking sick, huh? I'm a chick dressing up as a dude who wants to be a chick.
Yeah, even if this wasn't consciously on the filmmakers' minds while making it, I don't think a lot of this is incidental. That one dorky loser punk kid dressed as a werewolf, a common horror motif for transformation, admits to finding the girl in drag sexually attractive, despite being unsure of her true gender and sex.
Do you like my outfit?
I do. What are you supposed to be? Sexy vampire.
I'm a chick who's dressing up as a dude who wants to be a chick.
But you are a chick though, right? What's your step?
Why don't you put your hands down my pants and finds out, Wolfman?
At this point, I don't really care. No, but seriously, you have a vagina?
While he implies womanhood is determined by genitals and finds comfort in knowing the upcoming sexual encounter is cis-heteronormative, his attraction to the layered gendered expression and androgynous ambiguity hints at room for non-traditional forms of femininity within straight sexual relations. And yet, taboos remain taboos to reinforce the societal control that cast outsiders aside, because even those with some desire to resist conformity ultimately are enslaved by it.
Where's your girlfriend, Laurie?
Laurie's not my girlfriend. I hate girls. Why doesn't anyone understand this?
While gender plays a role in transformation, it isn't the only defining factor.
I mean, this is old, Loomis. This is new.
All of the surviving victims of Michael Myers change in one way or another. Annie and Laurie are both emotionally and physically scarred by the event. But while Annie wants to move on, Laurie is in a perpetual state of panic and is spiraling downward into emotional oblivion. Laurie's entire personality and expression change drastically. She rejects the sheltered suburbanite good girl likeness that she once had in exchange for something conventionally darker and more aggressive, effectively embracing the outsider she once was so far removed from. She gravitates towards darker works of art as a way to process and liberate herself from the trauma that she experiences. She wants to be medicated for her depression, and now, like Michael, she has her own doctor she grows to distrust.
You know what? I would be fucking concerned at $100 an hour.
I'm really concerned right now.
Bullshit,
No, it's not bullshit.
You know what?
Please
You're more
stick with me.
fucked up than I am, you crazy bitch.
She eventually is faced with what and who she is, and begins replicating where she came from. She came from white trash, and now the white trash is calling her back. There's a sort of repetition of events, and so now Laurie is the new feminine manifestation of her mother in Michael's eyes, as well as sort of becoming a new Michael herself. In some ways, Laurie's circle of friends serve as an extension of her and her values, which is why she hangs out with a new group of people in the second film.
Oh yeah, meet my new best friend. Oh, is this how your new work friends roll? Maybe. Jealous? Whatever.
Annie starts voicing things that are going through her head, that's also going through Laurie's head, and she's becoming sort of like her brother in real time.
What is going on? Let me just call my dad, okay? We could talk to him.
You know what? I have a message for your dad. Tell him that Angel says fuck you. Who is Angel?
After learning the truth of her identity, she confides in her friends, and after a mental breakdown, she ultimately accepts that she is Angel Myers, the sister of Michael.
Hey world! Guess what? I'm Michael Myers' sister! I'm so fucked!
The characters undergo a transition to new forms, tying to the spirituality underlying Michael's ritual killings. While the first film may mystify Michael, the second one deifies him, not as a god to be worshipped, but instead as a god to be feared. Michael is an unstoppable and resurrected evil, who is also magical and changes the fabric of reality with his mind. There's a telepathic connection between him and his sister, something that becomes more obvious in the second film. At one point, Angel acts up emotionally because of a man that Michael later murders. There's another point where she vomits at the pizza because it reminds her of the dog that Michael is eating at the same time.
Oh, it's cute.
The siblings are psychologically linked, and this link is established through montage, the means that unify separate images to form a thematic connection between them, which is made apparent to the audience through clever cutting, akin to something like Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin, or Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather and Apocalypse Now. Though it is also brought to a diegetic awareness to the characters within the film, akin to the Force within Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. The Force itself is effectively montage. This is also comparable to the narrative context of David Lynch's more surreal works like Mulholland Drive, which is mostly implied to take place within the mind of Naomi Watts' character, and yet the audience sees various situations involving characters that sometimes lack a direct connection to her, thereby suggesting an anti-solipsistic phenomenon involving a collective consciousness. Halloween 2 is a film where a serial killer and his sister are literally changing the world with their minds, and it's made clear that this isn't in their heads either. They are literally changing reality for other people. Montage spans location, time, and reality itself. When the sheriff finds his daughter Annie butchered once again, and this time for good, he is broken down.
Oh, God. Oh, no, Annie!
And the diegetic reality itself breaks too, showing video footage of a young Annie, alive and well. The scene is so brutal, and it hits hard. It even made me cry. And it's fascinating to me that a sequel to a remake of the original film and a popular horror franchise made by a rock star is able to be so poignant on an emotional and artistic level. Now, the film is more meant to be an expressive piece of art, and so the moments of magic and dreams don't need to be taken completely literally, which makes it difficult to distinguish what is and isn't diegetic reality.
He's holding me down!
Listen to me, Laurie. There's no one holding you down!
The opening of Halloween 2 continues where Halloween left off, and yet somewhere along the way, it bleeds into a nightmare. But this nightmare is real to Angel, and so it happens in the narrative. The film places an immense value on subjectivity in the end.
I mean, he's objectively dead, but he's living in your mind, and he's living in your heart and your emotions. So that's the reality that we have to heal you from.
By the end of the film, Michael wins and brings Angel to his world. She is either dead or hospitalized, and the maternal, pure, and chaotic force of the white horse comes for her, effectively ending her misery and bringing a smile on her face.
I know it isn't true. I know it isn't true. Love is just a lie meant to make you blue.
The film succeeds at portraying the long-standing effects that trauma has on individuals. Michael and Angel join forces to end the father who profits off of their suffering. Of course, their efforts of healing are met with two possible outcomes: state violence or institutionalization.
Hold your fire! Hold your fire!
Both are outcomes people like her and Michael experience. Society isn't interested in saving or even really helping the outsider. It is only interested in exploiting them, or killing them, or setting them aside for good. For many people, life only brings suffering, and so there is something comforting about death, where we might be able to come face to face with those we lost and those we love. But then again, love hurts.
Love hurts. Ooh, love hurts.
Hey everyone, this is Jane with Style of Substance. Thanks for watching until the end of this video. I've been wanting to make this since 2019 actually, and I almost didn't make it this year, so hopefully I have this out before Halloween. I would have gotten around to it sooner if I didn't get COVID. This video is actually an adaptation of a video discussion I did with Isabelle Miller last year on the channel Your Cult Boyfriend. If you want to see me collect my thoughts on these films in real time, check that video out. Link in the description. Also, I would like to recommend the Scream Queens article, Running Through Your Hollow Bones, Legacies of Pain in Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2 by Christine Evelyn, which treads similar waters as this video. If you liked this video and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe. If you would like to go the extra mile and help this channel out, consider donating to my Patreon, which will give you credits in my videos, like these people here. Special thanks to my patrons, Devin O, Leia Camilla, Mr. Kirby, Picadon, Adam Young, Andrew Cook, Sophie Pilbeam, Valentina Radova, and Jude Myrick. Also, special thanks to Jake McBrearty and Elaine Fuentes, who became patrons after I recorded the rest of this video. Please let me know what you thought of this video in the comment section below. Let's get some conversation going. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
I buy everything I see, and now I'm rebuying everything I see on DVD, even though I already have it on laser and I have it on VHS, so it's a sickness. I thought this pretty much sums up everything that I liked as a kid. Hot blonde sitting on a monster car. That explains it.